This is Robin from livingthesimplelifenow.com. And I want to talk to you today about how to simplify your life and how to keep it that way. If you've read my story, you know that my family has been through an awful lot of stuff. And the thing that I've learned the most, we've been through deaths, broken relationships, a flood in our home, mold in our home. My son has had health problems, so we've been through all this stuff. And one thing that I've learned that really makes life, no matter what stage of life you're in, easier is to simplify. And that's what my blog is all about. But I want to give you 4 tips to make your life simpler and keep it that way. It's been a year since our basement flooded and we got rid of about half of our stuff. And I've found myself still, my house gets messy, which tells me that I have too much stuff. If there's stuff laying out, then it's not probably being used or being used correctly. So it probably needs to go, particularly if it just lays there. I have children, and if it just lays on their bedroom floor for several days or a couple weeks, then I know that it's time to simplify. And so a year after my basement completely flooding, and learning all the lessons that we've learned, I've learned 4 things that have created simplicity in my life and have helped me to keep it that way. The first thing is to prioritize what's really important in your life. This would include relationships and physical possessions. What's really important? And I would challenge you on sentimental things to not keep every single thing that is sentimental. Because what I've learned with sentimental stuff is that sometimes less is more. For example, my mother-in-law died a year and a half ago, and my husband kept a fair amount of stuff because his dad was already dead. But for me, I was very close to her, and for me, the thing that has helped me is just to have a few things of hers out, and it helps me remember her than just to have an overwhelming number of things, that aren't as special. So I have a few things that are really special to me, and I would encourage you with sentimental objects, even if you don't get rid of them, just lots of visual clutter. I've learned the longer that we live, the more clutter that we get in our house. And lots of visual clutter can lead to kind of psychological, you just not being settled and always kind of feeling like your house is messy. And that's not a good thing. So I would just challenge you for the physical possessions to just, do I really need this? And my rule is, am I going to use it in the next 6 months? Chances are that I can probably get it cheaper or again, either through a thrift store or eBay, have been really helpful. So I'm not one to keep something that I'm not going to use for 6 months. And I would challenge you to examine the relationships in your life. Are all of your friendships benefiting you? Are you surrounding yourself with positive people? Because if you're not, it can really bring you down. Sometimes we have family that brings us down, and we might not be able to completely get rid of them, but we can set really firm boundaries so that they are not constantly bringing us down and weighing on us emotionally. I found myself much more productive and much more happy as I've drawn boundaries around relationships in my life that weren't extremely positive people. Doesn't say you have to get rid of everybody in your life. It just means that you draw boundaries. And we can talk more about that in another post. So you're going to prioritize what's really important. Get rid of everything else, physical and emotional, that's not absolutely vital in your life. And don't lose your focus. And I think that's kind of what's happened to me in the last year, is even though we got rid of stuff, I've suffered from several illnesses. Mold exposure, Epstein-Barr, which is just like mono, and some viruses and illnesses that have kind of resulted from that. And I kind of lost my focus. So I'm going to have to go back through my house and ask myself for many, many things that are just kind of laying around. Do we really need this? Do we really want this? Is it worth the physical space that it takes up in our life? And even relationships. And I would say that you need to repeat this process for the 4th step to simplify your life. Repeat this process every 6 months. And this is probably the mistake that I've made, it's been a year. And I found myself overwhelmed with clutter again. And I think that every 6 months, would help you simplify your life and keep it that way. If you just reevaluate, focus on what's important, reevaluate every 6 months, kind of what's in your life, doesn't need to be there physically and emotionally, and just kind of chunk whatever you don't need. And so again, the steps are prioritize, get rid of everything you don't need, don't lose your focus. That's really easy to do once you've minimized your life and simplified your life, to forget some of those goals. And to not lose your focus, I encourage you to repeat this process every 6 months. Prioritize and get rid of everything physically and emotionally that you don't need. So those are my 4 steps to simplify in your life and keep it that way. So this is Robin Adams from livingthesimplelifenow.com. Check out my free ebook, and I've got links for everything down below and links to this post on my blog that I think you'll find beneficial. So subscribe to my YouTube channel if you found it helpful, and I look forward to talking to you again. This is Robin from livingthesimplelifenow.com. Bye.